Good morning, Philip, RTX Honeybees. Just wanted to talk to you guys about what I'm planning to do this morning. I've got a colony that's been needing to be split. Actually, two. Hopefully, there's two colonies. In the spring, when I would catch a swarm, a lot of times I would put two in one box with a divider. And these two are on Texas Deeps, which are the oversized deep frames. And I'm way past time for me to split those apart. I know one side is really strong. The other side is not quite as strong. But what I'm finding is the stronger side, in a lot of cases, is killing the queen on the weaker side. So I might go in and see that the weaker side didn't have a queen. In that case, all this for me to do is just to pull the divider out and let them combine. Well, I was trying to figure out, I don't really have enough room between the two boxes that are there to put a full-size box. And I've been struggling with how I could divide these up. I was thinking about taking them to the country. But I kind of want to try to get some fall honey off this colony. So the other day, it just occurred to me that maybe I can just pull kind of a split off of one and leave most of the resources from both colonies together. It's kind of like killing one queen and taking the best one. But in this case, I'll take the queen from the weaker side and put her in her own box. And I got to thinking that when I set up these swarm traps, I have 4 frames in my swarm traps. And when I used the Texas Deeps, I had 3 Texas Deeps and I had 1 deep frame, which was old drawn comb. And so I had just a regular deep frame in both sides of this double 5 frame box, I guess you'd call it, with 2 colonies. So I thought, okay, I can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I can take the deep frames, I think they're on the outside, put them in a newt box, find that queen, put her in the newt box, shake all the bees from her side of the colony, which means there'll be pretty much just the nurse bees because the rest of the bees will fly back out and fly back in. And I'll do 2 things. I'll keep her as a resource or an extra colony that I can build up for next year on regular size frames. So I'll put 3 more frames in there. I may give them 1 to draw out, but I'll give them at least 2 drone combs, maybe 3. The original colony, all the mature bees should fly out and fly back in. The queen should be okay because the really strong side should be able to protect her. So hopefully I end up with Texas Deeps in one, regular Deeps in the other, and maybe make some honey off the original colony because they'll be really strong. Let me just kind of diagrammatically show you guys what I'm talking about. So what I have is Texas Deep. The Texas Deep, for you that don't know, is literally a deep box and a medium box combined. So if that were a deep and that were a medium, that's what it looks like. And in the middle of that is a divider, okay? And then these are sitting up on a rack. Okay, so this colony, I'm showing this from the back because this colony is the weaker colony and this colony is the stronger colony. This is the way I'll show it to you when I actually get later in the video. So what I want to do is come in and put a 5 frame nuke right here. There's room for a 5 frame nuke. There's another colony right here. And in here, I've got Texas Deeps. They hang like this. There's 4 of these. And at this position is a regular deep frame. Right here. And on this side of the box, right here. There's 4 Texas Deeps, which are extra deep frames. And there are 2 regular Deeps. And my idea is to take these 2 frames, put them in this 5 frame nuke, okay? Take all the bees from this side, including the queen, shake them into this box, and then add 3 more frames. Okay, and I'll probably put a box on top and put a feeder, just to use as a feeder shim, so they'll get some food while they're reestablishing themselves. Now I'm going to try to find the queen in here, but if I find eggs and brood in this side, that means I have a queen here, because I'm confident I have a queen in this side. They're really busy on this side, so I'm confident, but I'll check real quick to make sure I have a queen in this side, but I'm hoping I have a queen on both sides. If I don't have a queen, it'll be this side, and I'll just move this box on. We'll scrap everything else and get on with it. But hopefully, just for sake of keeping an extra colony and for entertainment purposes, that I'll be able to. Now what will happen is all these bees will get shook into this box, which most of them will fly out and fly back to here. I'll remove the divider, leave all the Texas deep frames, and then I'll come back and add 2 more Texas deep frames in here for them to build out. Currently, right now, there's a queen excluder, there's a honey super, which may have some honey in it, there's an inner cover right here, and then there's another honey super with the drone comb. This inner cover, they come up through the hole and they're cleaning that out, and then there's the cover that's on the box. All right, so let's get out in the field and see if all this theory plays out. I had a microphone malfunction or dead battery or something, but this part of the video has no sound, so I'm going to have to voice over it. I'm showing you the weaker colonies on the left, the stronger colonies on the right, and there's a divider in the middle. There's a shared honey super with a queen excluder there, and a inner cover here, and another honey super on the top. I have a nucleus box set up next to that, and I am going to be taking the deep frames from the outside edges of each of the colonies, and I'm going to move them into this nucleus box. And also, I've got 2 drawn combs, and I've got 1 undrawn frame. There's a lot of bees in the top of this box. Here I'm just taking out one of the frames in the top box just to see if they've got any honey stored. I notice there's just a small amount of nectar. But for the most part, this box is pretty empty. When you take off a box with a queen excluder below it, you want to try to make sure you separate the box from the queen excluder and leave it behind. You don't want to risk pulling up your queen excluder and setting it down with your queen on the bottom of it. You could potentially crush her. Checking now to make sure the queen's not on the bottom of the excluder. Just got my first sting. One of several. These bees are not the friendliest. Now I'm going to take out the frame in the 1 position, because that should be a deep frame, at least I thought it was. I struggled quite a bit with this first frame, but eventually I get it lifted up. And now I realize it's not a deep frame, it's a Texas deep. And I'm showing that to you guys. This frame contained a small amount of nectar, mostly on that inside surface. Now I'm explaining that the deep frame must be the frame in the number 5 position, which is right next to the solid divider between the colonies. The bees are bumping my hands pretty good, so I reach for the smoker to give them a little bit more smoke. This is the frame right next to the divider, which is a deep frame. But now you can see that the bees have built comb on the bottom of that frame. I'm explaining here that the frame has no resources at all in it, so it'll still be pretty easy to just cut that off and put it into the nuke box. There's a little bit of nectar in the top portion of this frame. Now I've got to figure out where I can set this frame down. My intention was to set it into the nuke box, but that's not an option anymore unless I cut that comb off, and I don't want to do that until I know that I have a queen on this side, and then I'm actually going to be doing a split. I decided to shake some of the bees off the bottom into the nuke and then lay this frame down on top of the queen excluder. So now I pull the frame in the number 4 position, which is a Texas deep, and I notice that it just has nectar, maybe a little pollen. It is drawn nice and straight. That is beautiful looking comb. But no queen, no brood, no eggs. Now I'm pulling the frame in the number 3 position. And I'm also, again, finding no brood, no eggs, but just nectar and some pollen. This is the frame in the 2nd position, and I'm pretty much resigned to the fact that this side does not have a queen, since we're not finding any evidence that there is a queen over here. But I'm pulling it out just to check. We've already pulled out the frame in the 1st position. This one again has a good bit of nectar and pollen. So I'm explaining now that it really doesn't do me any good to make this split. There's nothing to split with, so I'm just going to take out that center divider and combine both sides of this colony. They may have already combined themselves because they're not laying worker on the left-hand side, and I find out later that they store pretty much all of their nectar and whatnot on the far left and maybe on the very first frame on the right. To get the divider out, I need to remove frames on either side of the divider, and sometimes more than one frame on each side of the divider. So I believe what I'm doing now is I'm pulling out the frame just on the other side of the divider that's in the next, what I consider to be the next colony over. This frame has a good bit of honey on this side, capped honey, and it has a nice patch of brood and open brood all around that brood. So we've seen pretty much all we need to see on that side, but I need to have some space on the side of the divider, so I'm going to put this frame outside the colony. I did look it over really good to make sure the queen wasn't on there. At least I hope I made sure of that. I might shake the bees down in the colony, I can't remember. At this point I decided the nukes are just in the way. We're not going to make the split, so I'm just going to move it out of the way. Those bees I shook down in there, they'll find their way back into the colony. Yeah, I shaked a lot of the bees, but it looks like a lot of them fell outside the colony. Hopefully the queen wasn't there. She shouldn't have been. Just got my second sting. These bees aren't real happy for me to be there, but they're not my gentlest colony. So now all that's left to be done is to get the center divider out, put the colony back together. So I'm probably going to fast forward through some of this because it's kind of a struggle to get that out, but I'll show it to you. I'll just show it to you in fast motion. This thing's just not hardly budging. I got to lift up about 1/4 of an inch, but finally I have to give up and realize I'm going to have to remove some more frames and get the dividing wall moving side to side farther down in the box. I just took my third sting in my right hand, so figuring I'm probably going to have to put the gloves on here pretty soon. Finally, it starts to come out. And there's a sting in my left hand. And now another sting in my left hand. That's 5 stings. I've had enough. It's time to put the gloves on. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Obviously, I was hoping to have 2 queens, make a split, and have a resource colony or an extra colony, but that didn't work out. I wanted to just go over, what I did this spring was I caught a lot of swarms, as I did 2 years prior. And 2 years prior, I just put them in their own individual colonies, and they grew throughout the summer and the fall, but they didn't make me any honey. And then the next year we came around, we had a super drought, real severe drought, and those colonies still didn't make any honey. So this year I was going into my 3rd year, and it looked like we had much better weather. I thought I'd catch a lot of swarms, and I did. I think I caught 18 so far. And I decided I got to do something to get these swarms to pay for themselves, besides just selling them. So I decided to do this system to where I would put 2 swarms in one box, and let them fill a honey super together. I kind of get that idea from Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. It's similar to what Ian Stepler and Brad Hogg do, and I think also James. I know up in Canada they'll put 3 6 frames together and put 2, let them fill up 2 honey supers above that. So and it worked. I got a good bit of honey off of just my swarm traps, but almost all of them, the stronger side overtook the smaller side and killed their queen. I think that happened, I don't know, but I think that happened probably right after the honey flow. I don't think they worried about it until after the honey flow. After I took the honey away, they're in the dearth, they're looking for resources. Hey, right next door, they got a lot of honey. Let's go kill their queen and take their honey. I believe that's what happened. So I think if I do this, I am going to do it next year for sure, because I have to be able to make some honey, to make money, to make boxes and make bees, right? So I'm going to do it for sure, but I'm going to try to split those colonies apart right after the dearth if I can. I mean, not right after the honey flow if I can. But anyway, I appreciate you guys following along, and that's a little bit of the reason I did that. And y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching.